Hi, I'm Meg. Welcome to plantfitmeg. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk all about beans and how to incorporate them into your diet if you don't already, or how to maybe increase the amount of beans that you're eating and incorporating them into more meals throughout your day or throughout your week. Beans are so good for us. They're packed full of fiber, plant protein, they're anti-inflammatory, they can reduce our risk of certain diseases, including heart disease and certain types of cancer. They can be helpful with weight loss and weight maintenance, and more importantly, they can help with our lifespan and our health span. So let's dig into how to eat more beans and enjoy them. When I'm talking about beans, I'm talking about any type of legume. So I'm talking about all the different types of beans that exist, including things like chickpeas, kidney beans, cannellini beans, black beans, pinto beans. There's so many different types. Plus, I'm also talking about lentils. There's red, green, brown, different varieties of lentils. And I'm also talking about soy products like tempeh, tofu, and soy milk. If you don't eat a lot of beans currently, it might be helpful to start slow and start small. So start by incorporating just a little bit of these items into your meals. One of the easiest ways to do this is with soy milk. Adding soy milk to your oatmeal or your cereal or your smoothies can be a great way to get in some of that nutrition without directly eating beans specifically. And it can be a really easy transition from using other types of milk into using something that is higher in protein and creamy and delicious. I know when I first started eating a plant-based diet, I really wasn't a big fan of beans. I would really avoid them. I didn't really enjoy them that much. I had sort of texture issues with them, and I've really come around to enjoying them. But in that first phase, in that first little while, I definitely wasn't eating as many beans as I wanted to be eating, and I definitely built that up gradually over time. I found that using lentils was a really great starting point because they're so small and they just kind of can disappear into certain things, especially things like soups or chilies. And if you still sort of have texture issues with these things, with lentils or beans, you can always blend these things up. So maybe not blending your entire soup necessarily. You could blend the whole thing or just blend half of it to sort of have some of the texture and mix it together, and then have like the creamy smoothness of the blended portion and mix it all together. That can be a great way to incorporate more beans into your life. Lentils also tend to cook up a lot more quickly, especially the red lentils. And if you get split red lentils, they cook even faster. So I think the regular red lentils maybe take about 15 minutes and the split ones maybe half that time. So they're awesome for just cooking up, having ready and on the go so that you can just throw them into different dishes throughout the week. So whether it's a pasta, a chili, a soup, a salad, that's a great way to add more beans into your diet. Another way to enjoy beans that I think people don't think too much about is bean dips, things like hummus and black bean dips and things like this. And we don't really think of it as eating beans, but it is. The base of it is beans. So that can be a great way also to get more beans into your diet in a really healthy, wholesome, and delicious way. Bean dips are, of course, great for dipping your veggies into or having with pita bread and things like that. But they can also be great spreads for toast or sandwiches, wraps, things like that. So expand your thinking of how you can use these items and enjoy them in different ways in different meals to increase your bean intake. A few of my favorite ways to eat beans are eating refried beans, eating beans and rice, so beans mixed with something else, chickpea curry, and black bean burgers, which are so delicious, and I make my own. I'll leave the recipe linked up here if you want to take a look at it. And I like to enjoy it as a burger, of course, but I also do crumble it up and use it in different ways sometimes, making it into a taco fill or crumbling it up into pasta and adding other spices and jazzing it up. So those are other great ways to add beans into your life. I also recently tried a lupin bean seitan recipe. I made a whole Meg Tries video about it that I'll also link up here if you want to take a look at it. But it was really simple, not many ingredients, and it incorporated lupin beans along with vital wheat gluten for the seitan. And it turned out really well. It turned out really, really yummy. So that might be an interesting one to try. Lupin beans are really, really high in protein as well. So if that's something that you're concerned about or want to be bumping up, that's another great recipe to check out. Tofu is probably my top favorite plant-based protein because it is so versatile and so delicious. and I love to make it in a variety of ways. I have many recipes for tofu on the channel if you want to take a look at those. But tofu is great. It can be made into a tofu scramble as a replacement for eggs. Whatever flavor, spices, seasonings, dressings you add to the tofu just sucks it up like a little sponge, and it tastes so good. I especially love to use my air fryer for tofu, but not to worry if you don't have an air fryer. Using the oven, you can get crispy, delicious tofu as well. Here are some of my favorites. Adding soy milk or tofu to sauces can also add that extra little boost and make things nice and creamy. Tofu can also be used to make vegan cheese, which then can be added to a number of dishes in multiple different ways. Tempeh is also great, and it's slightly less processed than tofu, and it is fermented. So some people actually prefer to have tempeh over tofu, and other people find it to be a little bit bitter or maybe not their favorite flavor or texture. So something to play around with and experiment with. If you don't love tempeh, you can steam it first, and that can take some of the bitterness out of it. You could also chop it up really finely to just mix it into whatever dish you're making, just to add that extra bit of nutrition and have it sort of just meld with the other flavors of whatever you're making. I find also combining different combinations of legumes and beans and these things together can be really good. So maybe chopping up some tempeh really finely and mixing it up with lentils or with black beans or with pinto beans and enjoying tacos, let's say, or a delicious pasta sauce can be a great way to not only get your beans in, but increase the diversity of plants that you're eating, which is great for your gut and great for your health. Roasted chickpeas are one of my favorite snacks. Really delicious, super simple to throw together. Just mixing the chickpeas with some cornstarch, some nutritional yeast, and some hot sauce, and putting it in the oven or the air fryer, and done. Crispy, delicious, amazing. I love to just snack on that or add it to my salads. It's really delicious. There are also commercially available roasted chickpea and roasted edamame snacks, which can be really good. Of course, they're a little bit more processed than sort of their whole food counterparts, but in a pinch, if you want to have a crisp, crunchy snack on the go and you want that little extra boost of protein, it can be a nice way to fit it in. Another slightly more processed way of getting beans in is to use flours or bean pastas. I like to use chickpea flour and lupin bean flour together to make chickpea omelets, and they turn out really delicious. Or substituting some chickpea flour or lupin bean flour for other flours in a recipe that you're already enjoying and preparing. And also bean-based pastas can be really good too. There's black bean pasta, red lentil pasta, all sorts of chickpea pastas, different varieties. So it can be fun to experiment with those and test those out and see what you think. They can be a little bit more on the expensive side of things. So if you're finding they're a little bit cost prohibitive, but you want to give them a try, a good way to extend the life of them is to mix them with a different pasta as well. So grab your chickpea pasta, give it a try, but then also prepare, your whole wheat pasta or your brown rice pasta, whatever it is, and mix it together so that you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. Another interesting way to get beans in is through desserts. And you might be giving me a really weird look right now. I can sense some people are like, what? Dessert to beans? Like that, those two things don't go together. Trust me, they can and they do. So making chickpea cookie dough or making chickpea bites. Black bean brownies are really delicious. I actually had one fed to me at a conference and I didn't know what was in it. The brownies were delicious. They were amazing. And then after the fact, the presenter told us that there was a secret ingredient, and she explained to us that there were black beans in it, and my mind was blown, and I was shocked, and it was very surprising and a very cool experience to sort of taste test it without the knowledge that it was there, and realize like, oh, this is actually really delicious. It just tastes like a dessert. It doesn't taste beany or taste weird or have a weird texture. And then, you find out it has beans in it and it's like, what? It's really cool. Using tofu for chocolate puddings or chocolate mousse can be really delicious too. So that's another great way to get some more tofu in. Another sort of weird way to add beans in that you might not think of is smoothies. I like to add white beans to my smoothies. I've showed that, I think, in a couple of what I eat in a day videos. And I've also added tofu to smoothies as well. And it just makes them really creamy, really delicious, and you cannot taste the beans. Just don't add too much, depending on the size of your smoothie. You want to maybe add a quarter cup, maybe half a cup, depending on the size of your smoothie. But it's a great way to hide the beans and enjoy them without really realizing that they're there at all. Beyond this, another thing I like to do with my smoothies that have beans or tofu in them is to actually put them into popsicle molds and make popsicles out of them. Because again, you can't taste it. It doesn't taste like beans. It's the same as putting like a little handful of spinach or a little bit of frozen cauliflower into your smoothie. You won't taste it. It's okay. It's safe. It's good. And it's a nice way to just kind of boost your nutrition while you're eating something really enjoyable and really delicious at the same time. The typical recommendation for beans is to eat 3 servings per day. And so 1 serving would be half a cup of beans, tofu, tempeh, or lentils, a quarter cup of a bean dip like hummus or black bean dip, and 1 cup of fresh peas or sprouted lentils. So if you consider adding one of those servings at each meal in the day, or maybe at 2 meals through the day and 1 snack, it's an easy way to remember to hit your goals with beans. And again, if you're starting from 0 beans in your life at all, soy milk is usually a pretty safe and comfortable way to add that to your diet and start there. Tofu also usually doesn't give people issues in terms of gas and bloating, unless of course you have a soy allergy or a soy sensitivity. There's also the conversation of using canned beans versus dried beans, and there really is no difference nutritionally. Either way, you're getting good nutrition from it. If the beans are salted, then you might be getting some more sodium, which for some people totally fine, and for others might be an issue depending on if you have certain health conditions or you need to watch your sodium intake for some reason. But rinsing canned beans can really help to reduce that sodium amount and can also make them a little bit easier to digest. Using dried beans is a little bit more time consuming in terms of rinsing them really well, usually soaking them as well, unless you have an Instant Pot or a pressure cooker or something like that. If you do have digestive issues with beans sometimes or a bit of a sensitivity, I do recommend soaking dried beans first before you prepare them, whether you're preparing them on the stovetop or in a pressure cooker, just to help with that. So I personally do both. I do have an Instant Pot and I love to use that for cooking beans. I find it pretty easy because I just dump the things in, dump the beans in, dump the water in, set it, forget it, walk away, and it's fine and it's good and it turns out well. But it's also really nice to have the convenience factor of canned beans and just having cans of beans on hand just in case. So choose your own adventure there. It doesn't have to be all or nothing too. It doesn't need to be completely using dried beans or completely just sticking with canned. You can mix and match and maybe have both on hand, especially when you find which beans you really like and really enjoy and which ones you're going to be using. Then having both on hand can really make a lot of sense for different instances and different time periods. If you're batch cooking, for example, and you have a bunch of time on your hands, then you might want to opt for the dried beans. Whereas if it's the end of the day and, oh no, I have no more leftovers in my fridge, what am I going to do? Popping open a can of beans is going to be a lot quicker and a lot easier and much more convenient to prepare something quickly for that meal of the day. If you want more information about the benefits of beans, I highly recommend checking out the book How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger, and also checking out the book Fiber Fueled by Dr. Will Bulsiewicz. Both are great. They talk a lot, obviously, about fiber and beans and also other topics and other issues and other considerations with plant-based diets and health. And so both are wonderful. I'd love to hear what your favorite beans are and how you like to prepare them or enjoy them. Again, if you're starting from nothing and just not eating many beans at all, just ease your way in, experiment, try a few different things and figure out what you enjoy, what you like, and have fun playing around with it, maybe trying some new recipes or using recipes you already have and just dumping some beans in and seeing how it works out and see how you like it. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video and watching through to the end. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you'd like to see more from me. I hope you're having an amazing day and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Hi everybody, my name is Marsh, I'm Meg's partner, and every now and again I like to come on to Meg's channel and have a little bit of fun. And I gotta be real, I could not let a video all about eating beans pass without Oh my god, I can't even say pass without throwing out some sort of bean related joke. So, of course, we're going to pass on the beans right now and talk seriously just for a moment. I'm a human that has a tendency to deal with some digestion issues. I've talked about it a couple times previously on the channel when we spoke about dairy and non-dairy and things like that. However, beans and moving into eating beans a lot was a hard time for me, digestion-wise. Best top tips. Number one, small portions in the beginning, like little bits, like maybe like a quarter or half a cup. Lentils somehow are easier than bigger beans. Like the bigger the bean, the worse. Like when you get into like, the kidney and the those gigantic ones, like the lupine. Oh man, those are serious beans. Those beans are not to be reckoned with. Okay, but you can start out small. And soak them or get them canned so that they're softer. The softer, the easier the whole thing goes. It's so hard not to make so many jokes. And on that note, the bean jokes. So, of course, there has to be some sort of thing. I even said to Meg it should be on the thumbnail. It's got to say, like, are you full of beans? Or let's get you full of beans. Or don't spill the beans. Because the beans. There's always beans jokes. I even wrote a couple down. Because I like a good... I'm a human being that likes a good bean joke. What did the lentil say to the pea? How you been? Okay. I had a chuckle the first time I read it, okay? I wrote it down again. We're going through them. This one's better. What's another name for a soy mocha latte? A 3-bean soup. Ew. That sounds so gross. That one's very funny for me because I work for a massive coffee company. And all I do all day long is sling lattes. So the 3-bean soup one, that one's coming with me. Sometimes I call it just hot bean water. Doesn't sound nearly as appetizing when you talk about coffee that way. Anyway, did you hear about the little bean who looked so much like his dad? Like Fava, like son. Yep. Last but not least, why can you never trust a taco with a secret? They have a tendency to spill the beans. Bean jokes, folks. Send me your best bean jokes in the comments. Leave a little bean emoji if you watched all the way to the end. I mean, there's all sorts of like, guys, don't let me down. Okay, I need some solid material on the bean joke front. Have fun watching this video. There's so many good bits about how to eat beans and the wealth of nutrition that they offer. So get them in your body. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And thank you very much. Bye.